that was the Europeans in 2020. And that was the start of, I'm taking this shit seriously now. I was in a relationship with a guy and he was really abusive. 6 months, I went from a size 18 to 20 down to a size 6. I want to be the best in Scotland. I want to be the best in the UK. And I want to be the best in the world. And I'm already the best in Scotland, working my way towards the UK. And I will be the best in the UK and the world. Like, I've got no doubt about that.
Gemma, thanks very much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you.
It's really nice to meet you. Someone of your standard. I'm just about to read your list of titles, and I tried to memorise them, but there was no chance. So just guys, Gemma Young is Scotland's top female powerlifter. She's a 3-time Scottish champion and 3 times overall female lifting champion. She's a European champion this year and overall the best lifter of the entire competition, both male and female, using the Rochelle score. She was world champion in 2002. She's the best female powerlifter in Scotland. She has the biggest ever female squat in Scotland across all federations, ages and weight classes, and the Scottish record in 2 weight classes. She's got the biggest ever female deadlift in Scotland in all federation, ages and weight classes, and Scottish record in 2 weight classes. She's the biggest ever female squat in GPC Britain in all weight and age classes. She has a world record squat at 235 kilograms, and this year she placed 5th at the biggest powerlifting competition in Europe, which is Abs Pro.
Yes.
Gemma, have I missed anything out?
I think you've got it all.
Gemma actually said, Davey, I don't think I'm worthy to come on your podcast, and I think we've just proved her wrong. So,
see, when it was written down in black and white there, I was like, when I was writing that out to you last night, I was like, oh my God.
You should be chuffed with yourself.
Thank you.
To have a 235 kilogram squat, I mean, like, it's more than double what I can do, that's for sure. So powerlifting, for people that don't know, explain a wee touch about
powerlifting, so it's your free lifts pretty much. So squat, bench, deadlift. On competition day, you do your free lifts. You've got 3 attempts at each lift, and that's pretty much it.
So what's your record on each lift?
So my squat is 235. My bench is, that's poverty. I was going to say that's poverty, but it's probably still all right. 105. Still, and my deadlift is 222.5 kilo. So
like, they're big scores. So that's a total of 560?
560. Yeah, brilliant. 560.
But we'll learn that powerlifting, strength, fitness, it wasn't always your thing.
No, not at
all.
You know
what I mean? Take us back to how it began for you, or how life began for you, but about your growing up, your childhood, and take us up till now.
Childhood was good. Like mum, dad, sister, they worked hard for us. Like, good childhood. I was a wild child, like absolutely, caused them grief all the time. Yeah. Determination came from my dad, though. He's always been the one that's drilled it in my head. If you want something, you go for it. If you're going to do something, you're going to do it right. Yeah. And that's been my whole life growing up. Wasn't really a big fan of school. Left school when I was 15. Yeah. Went to college to do introduction to care. Worked in a hospital for 16 years. And during that time, I decided, I went to uni to do my nursing and decided that wasn't for me. I wanted to be a PT. In between that, though, I was a pure party animal. Like, that was my life. Every weekend, I was out drinking, partying, your typical, like, binge drinker every single weekend. So health and fitness was of no concern? Oh my God, no. I was not interested in that at all. This is in Edinburgh? This was in Edinburgh, yeah. So grew up in Edinburgh, moved through to Dalkeith about 12 years ago, and moved through to Glasgow 3 years ago. Yep. So all this is, like, my party life was back through in Edinburgh. Yep. I was wild. And then I went to Australia, so I was just, again, impulsive, decided one day I want to go travel to Australia, booked a ticket there, and then 2-3 weeks later, I was off on my own on a wee adventure over to Australia. And that's kind of where I got into fitness. Yep. I'd always been quite bigger growing up though, so I was probably like a size 14, so I wasn't like massive, but like in Australia, I was drinking all the time, I was eating shite, and then there was a gym there and I was like, everyone's like looking really good, everybody's taking care of themselves, maybe I'll just go to the gym. And that's kind of when I got a wee interest in going to the gym. So joined a gym in Australia, but again, I was going to the gym, but I was still drinking loads. Yeah. You can't out-train a bad diet. Yeah. So I decided, I got home, and at this point, I remember I was going out for dinner with my sister, and I went to Tesco. No, I tried on all my clothes, nothing fitted me. And I know I'd put weight on in Australia, but I didn't realise how much weight I had put on. And like I say, went home, tried all my clothes on, nothing fitted me. Went to Tesco because I'll just grab a pair of jeans out of there. Where we're literally going out for dinner like in an hour's time.
Yeah.
Nothing fitted. I put on a size 20 and they did not fit me. And I was like, how the fuck did I get to a size 20? Like, how has this happened to me? So for there, I was like, right, you need to change your life. Like something has to change. Like you can't live like this. You can't keep drinking. This was about 8 years ago. So I'm 34 now. So 26. Yeah. Had to do something. So at that point, I was like, right, go out for dinner with your size 20 jeans on. I was mortified. I was devastated.
Your tight size 20 jeans on.
It's like, don't eat anything because they're not going to fit you. And I messaged a PT at that point and I was like, I need to come in. I need to come to the gym. I need to do something. Can you please help me? It's the first time I've ever properly got a personal trainer to kind of show me what I was doing as well. So although I was like in and out in Australia, I had no clue what I was doing.
You're just playing it.
I was just going to the gym. I was probably on the treadmill and stuff, like thinking, oh, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
So went to this personal trainer, flew in Edinburgh, messaged him. He's like, I come in, we'll have a wee chat. And I says to him, I was like, right, this is what I want to do. I don't want to be skinny. I want to lose weight, but I still want to have muscles. It's like, I want to be strong. And he was like, no lassie has ever said that to me. He's like, everybody comes to me wanting to be skinny or to have a skinny beach body. And I was like, nah, that's not for me. And it's never been me. Yeah. But I wanted to have muscles. So he was like, right, let's go weight training. And at this point I was like, oh, okay, like,
was this before the bikini competition?
This was before my bikini competition. Yeah. So this led up to doing a bikini competition. So started doing some weights with Kieran and I loved it, but I was so nervous as well. Yeah. And then in the gym, like it was an exercise for less in Edinburgh. So at this point I had like a wee female section. Yeah. I used to hide in there. Like I could not go to the gym. I could not go and use any weights by myself. I hid in the female bit where they went up to 10 kilogram dumbbells because obviously that's all a female can lift is 10 kilos. Yeah. And that was it. I spent all my time in there. Eventually, like when I had my sessions with Kieran, I would venture out into the main floor where all the guys were and like the big man bit, as you would normally call it.
Once your confidence grew a wee bit.
Yeah, and I think again, as I started to lose a bit more weight and I knew what I was doing in the gym as well, I got more confident. I was like, right, okay, I can kind of venture out by myself. And then I did eventually, but it took a long time. Probably took about a month of going. And I was dedicated. So I was going every day at this point. But it took about a month to be like, right, okay, I can go into the big section of the gym now and like go and use the big weights. And that's kind of where it came. Then I decided that I wanted to do a bodybuilding competition. Like I was still really big at this time. I had lost a wee bit of weight, not much. I was probably about a size 18.
Right, okay.
And I was like, right, I'm going to go and do a bikini competition, pure out the blue. But I was like,
explain what bikini competition is.
So bikini it's your bodybuilding competition. So you need to look a certain way. You're standing on stage. You need to be really lean. You need to be conditioned. Yeah. You're in your bikini.
It's not an athletic build as such.
It's more slim.
That's more slim than that.
I'm going to say more slim. I'm probably going to get shot for this.
No, but we won't say skinny.
I'm not going to say skinny, but it's more. You're slimmer. Like some of them do obviously have a lot of muscle as well, but your bikini is just a lot more slimmer, really toned, like good definition, but not muscular as such. It's just a bit more of a softer look. So that's what I decided I was going to do. So here I am. I got a new coach. Well, Kieran PT'd me at this point, but I was like, right, I want to do bikini. I want a female coach. So I reached out to someone down in England, started working with her. She was like, you've got a long way to go. I was like, right, okay, but I want to do this competition in 6 months' time. And she was like, no way. What the fuck?
Had she ever had a size 18? I want to do a bikini competition in 6 months' time before? No. And she says to me, she's like, that's not going to be realistic. Right, she was like, you need to be aware where you're starting and what we need to do. Like, you need to build a bit more muscle. You need to lose all this fat essentially first as well. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, no, but I'm going to do it anyway. And I done it. 6 months. I went from a size 18 to 20 down to a size 6. I would say it was probably the unhealthiest thing I've ever done, but it was also like, I loved it because I had that motivation, I had that determination. I know if I could do that, I can do absolutely anything. Yeah. You put your mind to it, you can absolutely do that. Like, you'll know that yourself if you're challenged that you've done. And so that's what I done. Like, I wasn't the most conditioned on the stage. I probably wasn't the leanest on the stage, but for me, that was a massive goal that I had done for myself.
But then that spiraled into a lot of eating issues, like a lot of, like my head was fucked at this point, but I'd literally been living off like chicken and broccoli for 6 months. I'd done an hour cardio every day, an hour cardio every night. And it just kind of spiraled into a lot of, not so much, I'm going to say it was an eating disorder. It wasn't diagnosed as an eating disorder, but it pretty much was. Afterwards, I wasn't allowed, I punished myself. So if I didn't feel like I was allowed to eat, then if I didn't work hard enough, I wasn't allowed to eat. So if I went to the gym and didn't have a good enough session, or if I didn't burn so many calories, I didn't eat. I went to my bed starving at night because I wasn't allowed to eat.
So you felt you would just punish yourself. Your small bit of food was your reward.
That was my reward.
And if you didn't work hard enough, you weren't going to...
I didn't get it.
So you just became totally obsessed. This took over your life, I take it?
That was it, yeah. And I remember at the point, my mum and dad were like, oh, it's taken over. It's so obsessive. Like, you're being obsessed with it. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm fine. I just never seen it at the point. Like, and they say to me now, like, oh, do you remember that? Like, you used to go to your bed crying because you were so hungry. My mum would be like, just have something to eat. And I'm like, no, I can't eat. I can't do it. And
you were in your late 20s at this point as well. So it wasn't that, it was only 5 years ago. Yeah,
it was probably about 6. Started powerlifting in 2017. That's when I first switched to powerlifting. So it was maybe like about 6-7 years ago. So
it's in 6.5, 7 years, you've went from size 20, 22 maybe to a size 6 in 6 months, and then now in the last 5 years you've built yourself up to be the top female powerlifter.
Yes,
one of the top in the world.
Yeah,
that's crazy. So, but I think it's important out there that what you done, although impressive, and the mindset to do it was impressive, and the determination, it wasn't healthy to do that in 6 months. Not. And you wouldn't recommend it?
Definitely not. I learned so much doing that, and do you know what? I'm so glad I'd done it, because it's where I am now, and I now, obviously I'm a coach now. I can help other people not to ever be like that, not to get into that situation yourself. And that's what I do. Like, I preach that to all my clients. Life is about balance. If you're going to be dieting, that's cool. Diet, you need to lose a wee bit of weight, whatever, but you'll not do it unhealthily. You've got your social life. I remember I think it was like Mother's Day, and I went to a spa day with my mum and my sister, and they were having an afternoon tea. We went for a nice massage, and I was sitting there with freezing cold chicken and broccoli, and I couldn't eat anything, and I was devastated. And Mum was like, please just have a bit, like just have one little bit, it's not going to harm you. And I'm like, no, but it will harm me.
It totally won't.
It wouldn't. Not now. I'm like, no, like, I'll give you all the cake, it's fine. But at that point, my head was just like, no. And again, that kind of led to secret eating as well, and then binge eating. I remember at work, I was in the hospital at this point, and I just, like, we could obviously get biscuits, donuts, cakes handed into work, and I just crammed like all these donuts into my mouth. Literally in the space of 5 minutes, I ate like about 6 or 7 donuts, and then I was like, oh my God, I need to go and be sick now. I've ate all this food, and it was just so unhealthy.
So secret eating is you eating, but you're hiding the shame of it from other people.
Just didn't let anyone know. No, so I like hid in the room. I locked a room and just ate all these donuts.
Just stuff your face. I'm just getting visions of Matilda, the stuffing chocolate cake.
That was me, honestly. And see, now I can laugh about it, but at the time, like, I knew it wasn't good. And then I decided, like, I'm going to go and do athletic bodybuilding, which is a bit more bigger framed, obviously, like, a bit more muscles. Like, that's going to suit me better. But with all this going on in my head, I knew this wasn't long term. Like, you can't live your life like this. You can't be punishing yourself for food. Where does it end? Like, was this going to be my life forever? Like, I was going to be punishing myself, hating how I looked as well. So even though, like, I was a size 6 or 8, I still seen myself as this bigger person before. I would still buy clothes, even to this day. Like, I'm a nightmare for it. But even, like, I would buy clothes at a size 20, and it was a size 6.
And you would still wear them?
And I still wear them.
Is that because when you looked in the mirror, you still seen a bigger girl?
I still seen this bigger girl.
Even though you knew, like, obviously you knew...
Yeah.
You could look at your photographs from your bikini competition. You knew you weren't, but there was something in your head.
In your head, you're like, no, I'm still bigger. Or I think it was shame as well. And I don't want to buy a smaller size in case it doesn't fit me. So I'll just buy the bigger size and I know it's going to fit me. So I'd always just buy the size 20 because it was a safe option.
That's nuts.
It's mental.
I'm like, could you not just try the size 6 or 8 on?
No,
and you would have found it.
Fit.
Really? You just wouldn't. You were so fearful that you just never tried it.
No, never.
So, your personal life at that point, relationship wise and things.
So that was a bit shitty as well during this point. So kind of going from losing the weight, like during my competition prep as such, I was in a relationship with a guy, and it was just shit. He was really abusive, not physical, but it was really mentally, emotional abusive. But again, I think in myself, how I was feeling in myself, like I'd lost all this weight, I was really self-conscious in how I felt myself. So although I was probably looking the best I've ever looked in my life, mentally I wasn't there.
Just wasn't there.
So I was with this guy, and obviously to start with it was great, but he was just chipping away again at my confidence. It got really bad at one point. Like I wasn't allowed to see my family anymore. I wasn't allowed to see my friends. I was only allowed to go to work, and that was when I was in the hospital. I couldn't go to shops, couldn't look at another guy, could never ever speak to another guy, never even look at them. I got locked in the house. I wasn't allowed to leave the house.
And obviously with your kind of eating disorder, if you that's what you want to call, and your lack of self-esteem and lack of self-confidence, you had no fight in you.
No,
do you know,
nothing.
He had obviously either maybe targeted is the wrong word, but he certainly would have seen that your confidence was already at rock bottom, and he was going to make sure he reduced it even more
100%.
to the point that you were totally submissive to him.
Yeah, and that's it. Like no matter what he said, I believed it. He always said that I was never going to get anyone else. I was never good enough for anybody else. If I'm not with him, then who else is going to want someone like me? And I was like, right, okay, like that's true. Like this must be how it is. And it was toxic. It was really, really bad. And I remember I always say like I halved as a person at that point, but not just like physically, but like me as in myself. Like I was never the same person. I was like completely broken. I was shattered. And then it took a lot. It just took a lot to even just to try and fight back through it. And I was like, right, I knew myself. I couldn't be with him, but I couldn't get out of it. I couldn't reach out to anyone. Like my best friend at the time, she knew what was. She didn't know. She knew what was going on. I had never said to her, but she obviously knew through myself. I worked with her as well. So at work, she'd be like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "No, I'm fine. She's like, "But I know you're not." And everyone at work kept asking me. Like everyone, I had check-ins at work. Like people would come up to me like, "We're just going to sit and have a check-in today." And I'm like, "Maybe I'm not check-in. Like, what are you talking about?" I'm like,
so it was obvious. Everybody was giving you the opportunity to tell, but you just would never.
I would never say.
So what gave you what was the defining moment, or what gave you the strength or the opportunity to leave? Because it's so easy for people out there, and you hear it all the time, oh, it couldn't have been that bad if you stayed. Why did you not just leave them then? And until you're in that situation, or until you're really close with someone who's been in that situation,
it's
you don't know what you're
easy.
talking about.
And I was before this happened, I was always be the first person like, oh, how'd you get in that situation? And then afterwards, I was really ashamed of it all as well, because I let myself be controlled like that as well. Probably the final moments of that though was, so he would check my phone, he would check like my laptop, he would go through everything. Every night he had to read everything that was in my phone. And it got to a point I was having to delete things as well, because I was like, if a guy friend messaged me, I'm like, he's going to lose his shit with me, so I need to delete this. And like I shouldn't have been doing that. I shouldn't have to delete it, but I was deleting it
just to protect yourself.
Protect myself.
Yeah, totally.
But obviously he never seen it that way. I'm deleting it because I'm hiding something, and because I'm seeing this guy, or I'm seeing that guy behind his back. Like I don't know how, because I was fucking locked in the house with him 24/7 unless I was at work. But you know, and then so I remember he woke me up through the night one night. It was like 2:00 in the morning. He had been going through something on my phone or iPad or something like that. I went through it, and he seen a message from one of my friends who I had done boxing with before, and he had messaged me, probably just a friendly message like, how are you, or something like that. Anyway, he lost his shit with me, tore up, smashed up the bedroom, like just broke everything around about. He broke his phone, he chucked his phone, broke his phone, just going crazy. And I was like, what the fuck? I was like, this is 2:00 in the morning, like what is wrong with you? Like what am I doing and what are you doing? Like this is not okay. And then anyway, I was like, I'm going to sleep, like let's just forget it. And then so I was just lying there, obviously never slept, just lay there. He was through in the living room, and then at this point I was like, we can't do this anymore. But the next morning, I'm so sorry, like this will never happen again. Like I don't know what came over me. I'm so sorry, please forgive me. Like I love you so much. And I was like, right, okay, it's fine.
One more chance.
Yeah. Like it's fine. Like you're going to change. Like I know it's okay. And then it was my fault. And I was like, oh, it is my fault. Like he shouldn't have messaged me. This is totally, I'm to blame here. Like don't worry. Like I know it's my fault. Like it's fine. Like I'll make sure I never get a message again. Because this is what he used to make me think and feel, like proper gaslighting me. And then he was like, right, let's go out for dinner. Like, we'll go for dinner tonight, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, right, okay. So I was working, finished work. I got stuck late at work and he was raging because I was having to work late. I can't remember what it was, but I worked in the hospital. So it was probably just busyness there.
Yeah.
So anyway, I came home. He was in a bad mood because I never finished this time I was supposed to finish. He was going to the gym. And then he was like, if I'm back in time, we'll go for dinner. If not, then we're not. We'll just stay in the house. And I was like, right, cool, whatever. And we never went for food. But he was like, let's just have a couple of drinks in the house. And at this point, I wasn't really drinking much either. So when I started my whole fitness journey, I stopped drinking as well. Like I say, I was a massive binge drinker before. That put not all the weight on, but that put a big amount of weight on. So when I decided I'm starting this journey, I'm not drinking either. But he was like, let's just have a couple of drinks. Knowing that I didn't really drink anyway, but I was like, oh, do you know what? Like, fine, let's just have a couple of drinks. It's cool. Anyway, I got fucking smashed. I drank a bottle of vodka. And you know what? Like, I'm so thankful that I did, because it gave me the courage that night. Again, he flipped his lid that night. I don't even know what it was about, but shouting, screaming at me, calling me every name under the sun. And I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. So we went to bed. And again, woke up through the night and he was fucking going off on one again. And I was like, I can't do this. Like, I need to go. And obviously I was like blazing drunk at this point. So I had all the confidence, all the courage in the world. And I was like, do you know what? Fuck you. Yeah. Like, I'm not doing this anymore. So I literally just walked out my house, 2:00 in the morning. I had my jammies on. I phoned my sister and I was like, Katie, can you please come and get me? And she was like, what? And I was like, I need you. And I was like bawling, crying down the phone. And I was like, please come. But they knew what was going on. I had just never reached out to anybody at this point. So my brother-in-law now, him, Graham and my dad came down, picked me up, 2:00 in the morning, came, got me, took me home to my mum's, and then that was it. Finally got out of it. Well, I say finally got out of it, he turned into a stalker. He was pure wild. Yeah,
there was police involvement.
Police were involved.
Stalking it.
And my house was on high alert, the gym was on high alert, my work was on high alert. He would turn up, he would leave gifts at my mum's house, he would just sit outside and watch my mum's house, he would sit outside my work. He would come into the ward at my work as well. Like it was insane. I remember leaving work one day and I had to go out another entrance because he was sitting at my car. So I had to leave my car at my work overnight, phone my dad to come and pick me up. So I'm sitting at the garage down the street for the work so my dad can get me there. Left my car overnight because he was sitting at my car.
Waiting for you
just waiting for me. And obviously I was scared. Like, I didn't know what he was going to do at this point.
You never had your bottle of vodka with you at that point? So obviously that relationship thankfully ended, and the aftermath did end eventually as well. Like, you probably moved on to some other poor girl. But that's at the point where you then decided, I want to go more athletic. Yes. So this was it. Then I was like, great, go, like, again, trying to build myself a bit bigger, like stuck myself into the gym. And I think that was a coping thing for me as well, like go to the gym. Like that's always been my focus at that point. When once I had found the gym, this is how I dealt with everything. Any situation, any problem, go to the gym. So that's what I done. I was like, right, I'm going to do athletic, I'm going to build up. But I still had all these eating issues. I still had a bit of body dysmorphia. I still didn't like how I was looking, and it just wasn't healthy. Like, I was like, you can't live your life like this. You can't be wanting to compete. Like, how long are you going to do this and punishing yourself for food and then not eating properly? I think I was having like 800 calories a day, which is insane. And that's athletic. Yeah, and that's I was wanting to build muscle, but I also wanted not to get fat again. And so I was like, and I hate saying the word fat, so I don't mean that, but for myself, that's in my head at that point. That's what I didn't want to put all the weight on as well. So I was like, right, okay, just cut your calories down. And again, I had a different coach at this point, who was a guy in Glasgow, and he was like, right, I'm going to build you up. You're going to eat this amount of calories. But I was like, no, I can't eat all that, because if I eat any more than 800, then I'm going to put all that weight back on. And it just wasn't good. So you just had a total lack of understanding, really. The fact that you were beasting yourself in the gym, you wanted to get bigger, and the calories would have helped that. But you were just like, no chance. Mentally, just a fear of putting that on. Could not do that. Do you think that's still male and female? I think that's still an attitude that so many people have. 100%. They want to go to the gym, but if they don't see the fat loss is happening quick enough, they just cut calories,
cut calories straight away.
Calories. It's a simple answer, but it's not the answer.
It's not. It's absolutely not. Like, see now where I am today, I'm like absolutely not. Like, I'm eating the most food ever.
Yep.
I look the best. I'm obviously strong as I am,
yep.
and I'm on the most amount of food. But I just wish I knew that back then. But it's a learning curve. Like, I've got to where I am now by going through all these ups and downs as well.
And do you think there's a toxic environment there that coaches need to take a bit more responsibility for the way that they're coaching clients?
100%.
So you went to this girl down south as a size 20 and with the aim of competing at a size 6 in 6 months' time, and she was quite happy to, didn't care about your mental or physical health.
No.
She just seen that you'd came to her with a problem. She was going to give you this so-called solution. And it actually had a huge effect on you for a good few years.
Yeah, definitely. And again, I think so many coaches are like that as well. Like, don't get me wrong, there's amazing coaches out there who will not cut calories, but there's also a lot that'll be like, right, 1,200 calories, there you go. Do you know what? See, that's fine. See, if you are doing a bikini competition or bodybuilding show, whatever you're doing, I get the fact you need to drop your calories down. Like, that it comes hand in hand. Like, I know girls that have competed like over the last couple of years that have been on like 900 calories, 1,000 calories. It's shit. I've been there myself. I just wouldn't recommend it, and I just don't think it's healthy. But again, that's the sport they choose to do. That's their lifestyle. And for bodybuilding, I'm going to say it's okay. It's still not okay, but bodybuilding is a bit more acceptable. Yeah. But your general lifestyle clients, they're getting put on 1,000 calories, 1,200 calories because, I need to lose weight, and the coaches are just putting them on this, thinking, all right, that's the option, that's what to do.
Yeah, the bodybuilding, the bodybuilding and the bikini and the athletic, they're doing it as part of a cut for a defined time for a competition.
Yeah.
And then they'll have their off season where then calories will work back up. But there's so many people and like that will just reduce their calories indefinitely almost.
Yeah.
And they don't get the results.
Live on 1,000 calories for the rest of your life. Like, you can't do that.
Especially as a female.
Oh, yeah.
So that you kind of quickly discovered that actually the athletics bodybuilding wasn't for you.
It wasn't for me, but I had always been quite strong, and I liked the competitive side of things. Like, I was like, right, I quite like being competitive. I am strong, so what could I do here? But at this point, again, my mental health was just spiralling down. I still worked in a hospital at this point, and I remember I had a massive panic attack in the hospital. I was running a bath for a patient. The patient wasn't there, thankfully, but I was running the bath and I just broke down and like literally collapsed on the floor in tears, couldn't breathe. I was crying. One of the nurses came in, the charge nurse at the time. She was like, "What's going on?" And I just couldn't talk. Had to go to doctors at this point. She sent me home. She was like, "You're signed off work. Like, go to your doctor, go and chat to someone." Obviously, I think this was a backlash for that relationship that I was in. And then obviously my head and all the eating shit that I'd been through as well. Like, I think it was just a perfect storm,
together. Really, of everything.
So doctor put me on medication, which I did not want to start. And I was like, I can't take antidepressants. Like, absolutely can't take these. Like, it was a shame. It was like who takes antidepressants? Like, you can't do that. And I was mortified that I was this person and now had to take an antidepressant tablet. And I remember for ages I said to the doctor, like, I'm not doing it. And they were like, no, you need them because you're not okay. And I was like, right, okay. And I can't remember, it was someone in my work that says to me, she was like, if you've got a heart condition, you take medication for your heart. If you've got a kidney condition, you take medication for your kidneys. You've got a condition with your brain right now, you need medication for your brain. And I was like, oh, see, when they said it like that, and I was like, that makes so much sense. And it kind of was like, right, I'm okay to take this. So I was on these meds for probably about 4 years. I was on the antidepressants, and I had really bad, obviously, anxiety as well, on the back of all of that as well. So I knew I had to stop dieting as such, because I was like, this is a part of it. This is not making me feel any better. So what can I now do? I still want to lift weights, but I cannot be dieting because I just wasn't mentally okay. And then that's when I met my coach Andy.
Found powerlifting.
Yes, I found
you can eat as much calories, or not as much calories as you want, but you can eat. What are you on now? 3,500?
3,500 calories.
And you're in the best shape that you've ever been in.
Yeah, and still dropping weight on 3,500 calories. So like, it's insane.
Yeah. So you were on a fifth of that at some point.
Yeah.
So tell me about your powerlifting career. Well, it didn't go as a winner. You had a wee hiatus for it.
I had a wee bit in between. So I met Andy in 2017. It's funny because I always remember this. I went to him and I was like, I want to start powerlifting. He's like, I'm too busy. I can't take you on as a client. And I was like, but I want to start powerlifting. He was like, right, come in, have a session with me. If I think you're good enough, I'll take you on. I was like, right, okay. So like,
this is Andy
Kearney.
So and his Instagram and online is Andy
the Outcast,
and he has a powerlifting and strongman gym
powerlifting gym in Clydebank, so Perfect. OBS gym, which is my second home now. Yeah. Massive part of my life, and everyone there, it's a family community as well, so everybody's just got everybody's back. Like that's probably made me grow to who I am now as well. So I went and done this session with him, and I was like, right, no pressure, Gemma, but you need to get your shit together, because if you want to do powerlifting, he's not going to take you on if you're not good. So went in, done my session. He's like, right, you're all right, you've got good potential, so I'll take you on. I was like, right, okay. He's like, there's a competition happening in like 3 months. So this was at the end of 2017. I think he had a competition in March 2018. He's like, there's a competition, let's just do it for fun. And I'm like, what? Like, I can't just do a competition right away. And he's like, no, you can, like, you'll be fine. And I was like, right, okay. So bearing in mind, before
this was 6 months again.
6 months again.
Was it with everyone giving you 6 months deadline?
So when I went to Andy, like, I thought I could squat. Like, I was like, I've got a good squat, like 150 kilo. Like, my squat was not a squat. It was literally like a half rep of a squat. So he stripped that bar. We started from scratch, and I had to make sure I was hitting depth, because in powerlifting you have to be below parallel for your depth. Right. If you're not, your squat's not in. So when I first went to Andy, like my squats were high as anything. It was like literally a half rep. So he was like, that's not a squat. He was like, strip the bar, let's start again. So I was like, right, okay. So I think my first competition that I done 2018, my first squat was like 120 kilo, 125 kilo. And it was shocking.
Which is still not insignificant.
It's not, yeah, it's okay. It's okay, but yeah, I remember my first comp and I was so nervous. I hated it. I hated every minute of it. The nerves, I've never felt nerves like that in my life. Even when I'd done the bikini competition, like it was nothing compared to having to do these lifts in front of people. I think at the bikini comp, I was going to say, like, you kind of stand at the back. You can't, you're in the stage, but you can kind of just hide away as well. Whereas this, you're not. It's you're there by yourself doing these lifts. Like, if you fuck it up in the middle of a stage or on platform, everybody's watching. Was this like a British European composition? This was a Scottish. So it was in Clydebank at his gym. So this was 2018. So it was good. Like, I'm glad I'd done it. It was experience, but yeah, I hated it. And then after that, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm just going to go and do my own stuff, Andy. Like, and I still done a bit of powerlifting, but then I met a new guy at this point who just didn't go to the gym. Yeah. And I just didn't, that was it. Just kind of like died away from it. Yeah. And I said to Andy, I was like, obviously still in Edinburgh at this point. So I used to travel through to Clydebank twice a week to go and train with Andy. And then I was like, right, I'll just come through like once a week, or I'll just come through maybe like once a month at this point. And then it just kind of like dwindled away. And then I just never trained. So a year and a half, that was it. Like, never trained at all. If I went to the gym, I just done like a wee bit, like a wee leg day or a wee back day or something like that. It wasn't. So how long ago was this then? So this was. If you're 34 now. So this was 2018 was that competition. So it must have been like 2019, a year and a half. No, it must have been 2018 into 2019. And then COVID happened. Yep. And then me and that guy split up. And then I messaged Andy and I was like, can I please come back? And he says, only if you don't ditch me for another man again. That's exactly what he said. And I was like, I promise I'll never do it. So in that time that you were away from Andy and powerlifting, did you lose, were you still training? Did you lose most of the strength? And no, I was still training. I wasn't doing powerlifting training, but like I'd maybe do like a bit of like, do some squats, do some deadlifts. Right, okay. I wasn't committed to it though. Like, I'd just kind of like go in maybe like twice a week or 3 times a week and do something, whether it was just a leg day or just like a wee bit of shoulders or go and do squats and deadlifts one day. So it wasn't proper powerlifting. So then your actual powerlifting journey for real only kicked off 3 years ago. Yeah. And so, that was when COVID happened. That's when COVID happened. So you've came a long way in such a short time. Yeah, I was in my back garden with a squat rack, not even a squat rack, wheelie bins and a barbell and plates. It just shows you, if that's a lesson for anyone out there for commitment. 100%. But I said to Andy, I was like, I want to take this seriously. So what can I do? And he's like, right, I'm going to program you. This is it. Obviously it was during COVID, so he gave me, I actually went through to his gym, he gave me a barbell, he gave me plates, like, I'm so thankful to have him in my life as well. And again, he knew I was still on antidepressants at this point as well. Like,
I knew you were quite fragile.
yeah, he knew,
definitely.
like, I was, not that I wasn't in a good head place, but I wasn't the best at what I am now.
Yeah.
So he was like, right, go and do this, go and train, like, we'll do this programming for you. I was like, right, okay. And we were supposed to have a competition in 2019, and that would have been the Scottish, but that got cancelled obviously because of COVID.
Yeah.
And then the European champions were still going on. So this was in Slovakia. I don't know how, I can't really remember, because obviously COVID was still a thing, or it was like kind of happening, but Slovakia wasn't shut down
Different
yet.
rule for
So we
different
could still
countries,
go over to
yeah.
Slovakia for this. So normally if you're doing a Europeans or a World, you need to be invited to that. You need to have like a certain criteria. So like your total is what gets you into it, to basically get you invited over to it. But because I was hitting A numbers in my back garden, then, and he was like, well, yeah, I reckon you could go and do it. So we applied to go over. A big group of us, there was like 5 or 6 of us, went over to Slovakia, done the Europeans.
All just competing in different weight classes?
Yeah, all different weight classes. I think I was the only female, and then there was the rest of them were guys, and my best mate Carolyn came over with me, and it was great. We had a good wee holiday, we had a good competition. So probably from then, that was 2020. That was the Europeans in 2020, and that was the start of, I'm taking this shit seriously now. Like, that's it. I loved it. I loved the competition, probably because it was quite quiet as well, because it was COVID, so it wasn't overly busy, and I had more confidence on the platform as well. And that was it. It just, like, that buzz, and I was like, I'm going to do this. Like, I'm going to be the best. And I said to Andy, I was like, I want to be the best in Scotland. I want to be the best in the UK, and I want to be the best in the world. And I'm already the best in Scotland, working my way towards the UK, and I will be the best in the UK and the world. Like, I've got no doubt about that.
I don't have any doubt about that.
If I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it.
I can believe it. So I tell us, obviously, Slovakia was your first competition. How did you do? Did you place well?
So placed second,
Brilliant.
which wasn't bad. That's considering nuts. I had been training in my garden for that.
What can you remember your lifts for that?
Oh my God, I can't remember. Nah, I cannot remember at all.
Still impressive, obviously, no doubt. And there was people from all over Europe.
All over European, yeah.
That's crazy. And they obviously would have came from some of the countries where the gyms would still have been open. They were getting coached, they were in good facilities, and there was you rocking up after doing squats in your back garden, deadlifts in your back garden. It just shows you. So that competition led to you just making pretty much not a full-time commitment, because you're still working at this point?
So at this point, I was still in the hospital, and then I decided I'm going. So I had done my PT course, and I had, so at this point, like, I had went to uni, decided I didn't want to be a nurse, and then done my PT course, and I was kind of just a wee bit of online coaching, but nothing serious. Just had like 1 or 2 clients here and there, like just friends. And then I was like, I want a PT. Like, this is what I want to do. I don't want to be a nurse. I don't want to work in the hospital again. Working in the hospital during COVID was horrendous. And I was like, this just isn't my life. I was permanent night shifts, and I was like, I can't work nights and get to where I want to be, being a powerlifter as well. I was like, I need to just change my whole lifestyle. So again, telling my dad, I was like, Dad, I'm not going to be a nurse. I'm not going to work in a hospital, and I'm just going to go and become a PT and just work in a gym. And he was like,
I want to be a world champion powerlifter.
Yeah, and he was like, no, you're not. He's like, that is not a good enough job. He was like, you've not got no safety there. You've got no pension. You've got like no income coming in every single month. And I'm like, it's fine. I'll make it work. Don't worry.
So what age were you then? I keep going back to the age, because I think it's important. I think that a lot of people that see successful athletes automatically assume that they've always been athletes, and they've went to in your case, like teen competitions, powerlifting teen competitions. They've had the best of coaches. I've had scholarships or through universities doing loads of sports, and it's not the case. Even with my charity challenge 100 kilogram up Ben Nevis, I was never particularly good at sport. I was always all right in most sports, but I was never significant in it. And I think with the age that I'm now, 38, you're 34, and there's going to be people listening in the same age bracket, you don't need to be young to start working on something that you want to achieve it. And whether that's becoming the best powerlifter in the world, or the UK or Scotland or whatever, whether it's changing your career because you're not happy, or new relationships or anything, like, you've got a long life ahead. You need to be happy. And you've proved obviously that you can start something at 30 and 4 years later. I've seen the medals hanging up in your gym. Do you know what I mean? They literally litter the walls. It's such an inspiration, not just for females. and we'll come on to talk about a wee bit more about the difference between male and females in terms of coaching and whatever else. But getting back to your powerlifting competitions, so after Slovakia, where did that head to?
So after Slovakia, so that was in the following year, so it was 2021. And then we kind of got back to normal at that point, I think. Is that right? Is that when COVID kind of...
Yeah, about
like
started
getting a bit normal. So at this point, I was a PT now, and I worked in the gym in Glasgow. So again, I just decided I'm going to move to Glasgow. I didn't even move to Glasgow. I decided I was going to work in Glasgow. I was still lived in Edinburgh at this point, and wanted to work in Glasgow. And then the powerlifting competitions were the Scottish, which was April 2021. And then I think, what was that? It was the Scottish, then it was the British, and then it was the Worlds 2021. No, the Worlds was 2022. Oh, I can't remember what 2021 was. Must have just been the Scottish and the British that I done 2021. And again, got first place in both of them.
Brilliant.
And basically from then, it was like first place.
That was only a year after committing yourself.
Yeah. And when I say I committed myself, like I did, like literally that is my life. Like I made sure I was eating properly. I was eating enough protein. I was getting enough sleep. So honestly, sleep is the biggest thing. People just don't realise how important sleep is. But I make sure I get 8 hours every single night. And if I don't, I'll do it. So like last night, I never slept well because I'm still a bit jet lagged to Florida. But I was like, I need to get my sleep in. So how am I going to do this? And I was meant to work this morning. I've had to kind of move people about because my sleep's my priority, and I'll always prioritise sleep over anything else. Right, okay. So at this point, it was like, right, get my training in every day, did not miss a training session. My diet was always really, really good. My sleep was always really good. And again, just looking after yourself, like just making sure you're in like a better place and making sure you're happy and you're in a good like environment round about you and with good people.
Just make sure like your stress levels are as low as, but obviously everybody's going to have things that happen in their life that causes stress. It's just a fact of life, but try and limit it because it does play play so much with your hormones and your moods and your ability to either lose weight or gain weight or whatever else. Stress levels are a huge thing. So you were working as a PT then?
Yes.
Stealing everybody's clients?
Yes.
So you went tell us about that, because you went from zero to hero in such a short space.
It was pretty fast. So again, like I moved through to Glasgow to work. Bearing in mind, I knew nobody in Glasgow apart from like my best mate and my coach and the guy I was with at the time. I knew nobody else in Glasgow. So I was like, right, how am I going to work here? But I was like, well, you're leaving the hospital. You're going to have to make it work. So I'm all in. I'm committed. And I was like, right, you're going to have to do this, find a way to do this. So I got one client, she brought her friend, and then my first week I had 2 PT sessions. By week 4, I had 40 PT sessions.
That's nuts.
It was mental. And I was like, oh my God, like what's happened?
Why do you think that was? Do you think that was because obviously if you're always been like very energetic, very bubbly, very like nice, if you want to say the word, like welcoming, always smiling, having a laugh, that maybe a bit eccentric, a bit bonkers, but that people like that, do you know?
People like that, though. I'm quite relatable to people.
Even when I'm going to a gym and I'm watching other PTs and they're standing farting about on their phone, or they're looking at their watch, or looking at they're bored, they're not really giving their client the best experience there. Plus they're getting taught by, you were already a medalist at that point in Scottish and British as well.
Already, so I was like, at this point I was second European, hadn't got my first place yet for the Scottish comp. But again, I think I practice what I preach. So I was always into my training. So as a PT, like people want that. People came to me like all through social media as well. Like that's literally all it was through was my social media. And word of mouth, obviously clients telling like friends and stuff. I think it was just, again, being relatable, being bigger before and losing that weight. Like people were like, oh, if you can do that and look at you now, then totally I could do that. And again, just my personality, because I am a bubbly person, and everyone, like all my clients say that, like they're with me for me. And the clients that I had when I first started there, I've still got maybe like 6 or 7 of them when I first started out.
These are not, you're not coaching these clients to be powerlifters.
I've got a couple of powerlifters.
But it's not your clients, so people out there that think that maybe Gemma only coaches potential powerlifting
No,
athletes.
Majority is just lifestyle clients.
Just lifestyle clients of all ages.
Yep.
But this is a sticky point for me. They're all female.
All female. Yeah.
And that's not through. That's well. It was sort of your business plan.
Yeah. When I first started, I was like, right, I'm just going to do female only because I don't know. I don't even know why. I just like, I'm just going to be a female only coach.
Yeah.
But then as I got my gym and I was like I'm missing a huge potential here. So I'm like, you can't be female only. Like, why are you being female only? That doesn't make sense. And then I kind of went, right, okay, guys and females. But I'm still just a female only coach.
It's nuts, and I think that you never see guys getting coached by girls. I was coached by a girl who done the programming for my charity challenge, and I had guys say to me, "Why are you getting coached by a girl?" And it's a crazy attitude to have. Like, females are only held back in fitness either through stereotypes or genetics.
Yeah.
There's no lack of knowledge or strength or power or experience or anything there.
God, I can squat more than half the guys in Scotland. So.
A lot more than half the guys in Scotland. And I think that the guys are missing out on so much good coaching because they feel that maybe it's an inferior complex. I don't know. I just don't get it.
I don't know.
But to be coached by one of the best powerlifters in the world, you would be lucky to be coached by that, and it's a shame that guys just haven't taken that on board.
Like I've had a couple of guys message, like I was saying this to you before, like I've had a couple of guys like, oh, like I want to get coached by you, like I'll give them information, and then it literally just turns into them trying to flirt, and I'm like, do you want to be coached or not? Like, this is business, and then I just ignore them. I'm just like whatever, like this isn't what this is about here. Either you want to get coached by me or you don't, simple as that. But yeah, there's like I've got a lot of male clients, nutrition only clients, so I do a lot of like nutrition plans, like strongmen, powerlifters. So guys come to me for their diet, but as in coaching 1-to-1, none. Never had any.
That's nuts. So you then worked on powerlifting, obviously, got better and better at that, more competitions, then decided, actually, I want to open my own gym.
Yes.
Want to become a businesswoman as well.
Yes.
So which is what you've done, and your gym is called?
Pretty Strong.
Pretty strong.
Pretty Strong.
And which is based in East End of Glasgow.
Yes, yeah.
We'll tag all the links and all that in place for people that want to train there or see what it's more about. But it's a group fitness facility. It's an open gym as well. It's 24-hour access. You can come and go as you please. You can take part in classes. You can get PT by yourself with a couple of other
PTs there as well. Yeah.
No, that's amazing. It lets you train and have that base,
I love it. It's the best thing I've done. And again, me being me, I was like, right, I was in a gym at this point. So this was a second gym I was working in. Bearing in mind, I'd only been PT in about 1.5 years at this point. So again, to open up your own gym in 1.5 years of being a PT, like, that's wild. Like people don't do that shit. But again, I'm not quite normal, so I'm like, oh, why not? Let's just go and do it.
Go for it.
And again, I said to my dad's like, oh, like, do you think it's a good idea? And I was like, well, it's either that or I'm paying someone else's rent for them. I'd rather have my own place. And the place I was in at that point, I was working, it wasn't working, and I knew I had to do something. So do I go back to a different gym, work shifts, or do I just make it work for myself? And I was like, fuck it, let's just go and do it. Like, what's the worst that can happen? It doesn't work out. If you don't try, you're never going to know. So let's just go for it. And it's been 1 year now, so it's 1 year next week actually. That has been open, and like it's amazing.
And you're already looking for a bigger place, because you can't.
I'm hoping next year I probably need to expand. If it still goes the way it's going, like I've got a lot of members now. Again, I'm such a big believer in what you put into something, like your energy. So probably the first start of this year, I was working at, like, I done online coaching for a different company. So I done a bit of that as well as my own work. So like I've always been really busy. I've always just been ambitious, driven, whatever I can do to keep myself busy and to keep myself going. So I was working for this other company, but again, that was just, it was good money, but it was taking up a lot of my time, a lot of my effort, and I didn't have the time or the energy to put into my gym or my one-to-one clients. And my clients were noticing that as well. Like, obviously they're loyal. Like, I love them to bits. They stuck by me. I probably wasn't the best coach to them though. And I was like, I can't do this. Like, they mean so much more to me than this online company that I'm working for just now. And again, like I said this to you, like I was so unwell this year, just was stressed, just trying to juggle everything. So I was like, something has to go. And I think it was a money trap being with that online company, and it was like a safety blanket. And I was like, I can't leave because, again, it's good money coming in. It's the exact same position when I was in the hospital. I was like, you've got that monthly wage as such coming in. This is what it was like with the online company. But I was like, you've also got your own gym though. So what do you want more, your gym or that money? Yeah, fair enough, you might go and take a bit of a hit to start with, but I'm going to have more time, more energy to put into my gym. And that's what I've done. So I was like, do you know what? It's not for me. Like, I'm just going to walk away. And it was a lot to do. I think that's probably the biggest thing this year that I've been like, fuck, like, do I really want to do this? And still to this day, I'm like, oh, have I done the right thing? Like, walking away from it.
Yeah.
Because again, like, I had no financial worries whatsoever at that point. I didn't have to. I had this money coming in. But money's not everything, and money doesn't make you happy. No, so I was like, I can't do this anymore. So I was like, right, just leave. And that's probably my biggest thing for anybody that is listening to this. See, if you're not happy, get out of that situation, because it was affecting, again, my mental health. Like, I was having panic attacks. Like, I've been off meds for years, but this year I was still having panic attacks. I was having anxiety attacks, and it was just down to stress. And I was like, I need to, and this can't work anymore. It
would also be affecting your ability to, as a competitor as well.
Exactly. And I had, like, obviously the biggest competition ever coming up, which is one I just done a couple of weeks ago. So that was like building up to that, and I was like, this isn't going to work. So I left there, and what happened? Left there and put all my energy into my gym, and probably the last 3 months my gym has boomed. Like, it has been crazy, but I'm a big believer, what you put in, you get back out.
Yeah, definitely.
And this is now where I am now, and my gym is doing amazing. I've got so many PTs now, so many members, I've got my own clients, we're doing more classes, but I've got the time and energy to put into it.
To give them that.
Yeah, 100%, and it makes such a big difference.
It's a funny time of year as well. We're coming into autumn now, which is summer's been. Everybody's done their work for their beach bodies and their holidays and whatever
Nobody's
else.
Interested.
Most gym membership, exactly. Most gym membership will start to see the people that cancel their direct debits and don't cancel their membership. But yours is the opposite. Obviously, your loyal clients have stayed loyal. Plus, the word of mouth started to kick in.
More.
When people click on your pretty strong Instagram or your own personal one, and there's the pictures of you squatting crazy amounts, deadlifting crazy amounts, standing there with medals and all that, like, that's because you worked for it. You're a role model. Like, you wouldn't want to go to a dentist that had like teeth like a row of condemned houses. Do you know what I mean? You practice what you preach, and that's why you're proven to be a success. So I think we've skipped a few of your competitions.
Yes.
So tell me about them.
So tell
me which cities you've conquered and what.
So we done. So the British was down in Wales. I think that was 2021, and then it was a Scottish. So 2022. This was the Scottish again. This would have been last year. Did I do the British last year? I don't think I done the British last year. Maybe I did. I can't remember. Anyway, done the Scottish, done the Worlds. That was over in. Oh my God, this is so bad. I'm going to say Slovakia again.
Right.
Might not have been. I think it was. Oh, it was. It definitely was. It was in Slovakia again, yeah. So again, and that was first place. So this was last year, so that was the Scottish. In between, like, there are two bigger competitions, but out with that, I've done like little single lift competitions, so like charity competitions, like deadlift charity competitions, a squat competition, again, coming first, like biggest squat, biggest deadlift of the competitions as well, even though they were just single lift wins.
Right, okay, so you already hold the title as the world's leading or best female powerlifter in the GPC Federation, is that correct?
Yes, so GPC, Britain, the biggest squat, the world champion GPC 2022. The Worlds is this year in October, but I'm not going this year, so I'll let someone else have that. Yeah.
Nice.
And then out with that, so that was last year's comps, and again done a squat comp at the end of last year. That's where I got my 235 squats again. I think it was 230 last year, so that was a world record then. And then this year I had the Scottish again. What did I do? Scottish, then we done the Europeans. That was in Glasgow this year, so Andy actually got to help hold the European Championships, which was amazing. So that was really good. Like, all the European lifters were in Clydebank, which was insane. But it was good. It was such a good competition. So we had that, and that's where I came first place and best overall lifter for male and female, which is insane, because to be able to beat the guys as well, like that's something.
So that is based on a score which takes into account your gender, your body weight,
and the total lifted as well.
Right, okay.
And it just puts in a wee formula, and that works out.
You got first place.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So who got second and third, male or female?
2 guys.
Did you get to stand on the podium at first place with them two either side?
No, so you don't
way.
find this out until a couple of days later, until it gets put onto a system, and then we found out who it was. But obviously, you find out who's the best female lifter and the best male lifter. So you're on the podium for like best overall female of the day and best overall male of the day.
Right, perfect.
So I was on the podium for
That's
that.
massive, and that's the first time a female's ever won that. Is that right?
I don't know actually. I'm not sure. I'd need to have a look.
I think it is. I think I checked the tables in the previous years.
I don't know. I'd need to have a wee look. So that was the Europeans. That was in June. Is it June? And then I just had my first pro show in August. Was it August? I can't remember. It was August. That was just a couple of weeks ago.
August, yeah.
And that was over in Dublin.
Yep. Which I watched. I think you've sent us a link and I was able to watch it. It was televised. And it's the first time that you're competing against the biggest and best in the world. Both
the standard was incredible. Yeah.
One of your squats was cut off. I looked at it and I looked at it and I looked at it and I thought,
it's a touchy subject.
You know, the squat is still deeper than any squat I've ever managed to achieve. And was that going to be a new record for you? Was that going to be a 2-4?
No, so that was 225.
225, right, okay.
So that was my second lift, 225. It moved comfortable. They just said I wasn't low enough, which is fine. Like, see, old Gemma, like Gemma 3 years ago, I would have lost my fucking shit and would have went absolutely mental and be like, how's that? Like, clearly I'm in depth, look at this. But I'm like, do you know what? It is what it is. Like, if they're referees, they're judges for a reason. If they're saying it's not in, it's not in. And when you watch it back on, like, the slow motion on replay, you can see, like, it's not my squat standard. My squat standard's like, I am low. Like, I make sure I do not miss squats. Yeah. So for me, I'm like, right, okay, that's high for me. Like, I appreciate that. But still, I've seen people squat higher and it's been passed. But
and that was a difference from you finishing 5th, which you did, or becoming a podium finish?
Yes.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
But next year
I'll be 1st or 2nd. 100%.
I don't doubt that at all. Where is it getting held next year? Do you know?
It's in Dublin.
Is it back in Dublin? Is that where it's held?
It's the same place.
Year?
So the pro show's always in Dublin. There's a couple of pro shows next year though that I've got lined up. I got invited to do a pro competition in Poland, which is October this year. Brilliant. But it's too close. I just competed 4 weeks ago. Then I was in Florida for 2 weeks. So it would mean prepping over Florida and I've been on prep since February. Like, my body needs a rest now. I was thinking about it though and I was like, I'll just go and do it.
One more comp.
Yeah, and I feel like I never got the best out of me at that pro show there. Again, it was nerves. It was a massive competition. It was completely different standards. It was different technique. Normally I use a monolift when you're squatting, so that's basically like a squat rack, and the racks come away from you underneath. Where at this competition you have to walk out your squat. So I had to learn how to walk out a squat. I had to learn to use a different type of bar, because normally we use squat bars, but this one was a power bar, so they're harder to use. And for deadlifting, normally use a deadlift bar, but again, it was a power bar. So I had to learn all this new.
There's no straps either.
No, absolutely not.
I was going to say, I know, but a lot of people you'll see at gyms and they use straps all the time.
Strongman, you can use straps. Not powerlifting.
It's not cheating in a sense, but you're not utilising your full grip strength.
No, exactly. And if you use straps during training, you're fucking yourself up for competition day. Like, you've not got that grip there. Like, my hands are a mess, my calluses are shocking, but I've got good grip, so
that's it. That's what it's about. So take us into kind of if you're training for a competition. So take us back 6 weeks ago when you were getting to the final kind of few weeks of training for the pro. What does a training week look like for you? So
4 days a week I train. That's the same whether it's for a competition or not. I always train 4 days a week.
Alternate?
Yes. So I'm normally a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and then 1 day at the weekend. Just depending on what I've got on. But Monday's always bench. Thursday's always squat and deadlift. That's with Andy and Carolyn. So that's always my heavy squat and deadlift day. And that's at his gym. And then Tuesday or like Saturday, Sunday is either upper body or what we call dynamic day, which is lighter speed work and technique work for squat, bench and deadlift. So that's always the same, 4 days a week. Don't do any cardio, do my steps, keep my steps high, don't need to do cardio, and pretty much just diet. So I've got a nutrition coach who I've been working with since March this year.
And she's amazing. A game changer for you.
Absolute game changer. Like, she is got me down 10 kilogram in body weight. So normally I compete about 8 to 9 kilo. I weighed in at 79 kilo at the last one there, and it's not affecting my strength. Like and everyone's like, oh, you're going to drop all this weight. Like you're going to fuck up your strength. You're not going to squat as much as you can. How can you still lift the same amount? But you can. And everyone's like, oh, but weight moves weight. It does. Yeah, it does. But you can, if you do it smart and you do it properly. Like I lost 10 kilo over 3 months. And I've kept my strength the whole time. Yeah. Like not once has my strength been altered by that.
It's such a difficult thing. It's the thing that most people struggle with is their nutrition. One, because they don't know enough about it, and then obviously you get your cravings and whatever else as well. So to be able to lose 10 kilos and not lose any strength is bonkers. Feel free to give, I think her name's Sophie, give her a wee shout out on her Instagram.
Sophie, she's Sophie Powerbreed on Instagram. She's amazing. Absolute game changer. And I say that to her, I was like, you're stuck with me for like, I've had a lot of different nutrition coaches, more so because I don't trust people. Like I said this to you before, like I know my nutrition, like nutrition is my thing. So obviously I love coaching, I love PTing, but I love nutrition more so. So having a coach it just takes it takes the thinking out of you. You don't need to think about what you're doing. You've got somebody, Sophie literally does my plan for me, tells me what to eat, when to eat, how much to eat. That's it. I just literally follow my plan, and that is it. I don't need to think about a thing. Competition days, she's got like insane. She was like, right, so the weather's going to be this, so the temperature's going to be this in the room, so you need to make sure your hydration's like this, so we're going to get this for like electrolytes, your salt, blah blah blah. Like I've never had a coach go into that much detail in my life.
Scientific breakdowns,
like
everything.
Insane. And previous coaches I've worked with, like they've been okay, but we've maybe had a wee clash, or like, again, I know my body, like I've been doing this a long time now, so I know how my body works at certain times, again, during like peaks or like during prep for competition. And if your weight's not dropping, let's just cut your calories. Where Sophie's like, let's up your calories. And this is a difference. So it's just having someone that works well with you. Like as soon as we started working together in March, we're literally like 2 peas in a pod.
Just clicked.
And it's been great. And like I said that to her, like she's stuck with me for life. Like that is it.
I think for every successful person, whether that's in business or sport or anything, you need that team round about you. You know, you can't just do things yourself. No. I proved that with the challenge as well, the charity challenge. You need a good you might know what you're talking about, but you still need guidance, and you still need people to take that stress and pressure away 100%. From you as well.
And again, just having accountability. So obviously for like I say, I normally compete. So see in GPC, you've got weight classes. So normally I compete under 90s. So your weight can be anything from 82.5 kilo to 90 kilo. With GPC, so I normally compete about 8 to 9 kilo. My body weight sat there all year round. I still started working with Sophie, and it was dropping down. And then I think it's Scottish and Europeans, I was 83 kilo. But for the Abs Pro show, it's not in weight classes. Everybody's up against everyone. Right, so essentially you need to be the lightest you can be, but the strongest, but also the strongest. So and I said that to Sophie, like if I never had her, I'm like, no idea what I would have done.
So you would have finished nowhere then if you had another 10 kilograms in body weight, but your strength hadn't went up.
Nah, I probably would have finished last. If I didn't cut down to 79, I probably would have finished last.
Just shows you. So calorie wise on a training day, you're eating kind of 3.5.
Training days, I'm 3,500, just over 3,500. Like I think it's something ridiculous, like 480 grams of carbs. Right, so carbs are your pals.
See, so many people, and they'll still get like chicken, rice, and broccoli, and so many people out there like don't deviate. They feel that they still can't eat the foods that they enjoy, and obviously there is limits and sacrifices to be made, but your diet is not that restrictive.
Nah, my diet is good. Like I'm going to say it's strict because I eat the same food every single day. So for instance, like my breakfast, so a training day breakfast, I have bacon, eggs, a bagel, a muffin and fruit. And
a nice breakfast.
It's nice breakfast, it's loads. And then my pre-workout, I'm normally rice cakes, a protein shake, fruit and jam. And then I've got an intra-workout drink, which is like a wee carb drink and some amino acids. Yeah. Post-workout, it's cereal and a protein shake. What have I got? Rice cakes again. And then my meal in the evening, I've got mince, white rice. I have jasmine rice, 'cause I like that better. Yeah. Nuts and some more fruit. So it's a lot of food. It's fine. Yeah,
and you could obviously you choose to keep it the same daily because it's easier as far as meal prepping and buying the ingredients. But you could substitute some stuff.
Exactly.
If you chose to. Definitely.
Yeah, and like Sophie will put the calories down, put the macros down. So like if you know what you're doing, you can just be like, right, okay, instead of having a bagel or whatever, I want to go and have this. Or instead of having rice, I want to have potatoes. And my rest day food, like I get a chicken burger and chips for my dinner at night. So like it's great. Like who doesn't want that for their food every day?
That's amazing. So we'll bring the podcast to a conclusion now. But so next year at the pro, first or second?
Yes, first or
the
second.
The year after, it's just first?
First. Yeah.
You're giving yourself 2 years.
2 years, I will be first place. Like I said, I've got a couple of pro shows lined up next year. I'm taking first.
In one of them.
Or second. I'll have first at one of them, 100%. Like, I am not doing next year without coming first place at one of my competitions.
I love the confidence, but it's not just confidence. You can back up, and it's self-belief as well.
Yeah.
Do you know, if you tell yourself, there's no point in you saying, I'm going to do a pro, but I might not do that well, because you won't do that well. You won't train as hard.
That was my mindset, and I'm like, right, I'm going to do it, but I know I'm not going to place, or I know I'm not going to do that well. And I said to myself, I want to finish top 5, and I finished 5th. So I'm like, I should have said you're going to finish top 3. You would have finished 3rd, because whatever you can manifest, you're putting it out there. I said top 5, I got 5th. So next year, it's first or second, and it will happen.
I don't doubt it.
Yeah, 100%.
Obviously, the theme of the podcast is people with a story to tell who have shown resilience and overcame a certain obstacle in their life. You've overcame a few. Do you know, you led an unhealthy lifestyle in your kind of late teens and early 20s. You were a bigger girl at a size 20.
Yeah.
You were then faced with eating disorders, mental health problems, domestic abuse. After you kind of managed to get rid of some of that, the mental side of things still lingered for a few years on. You then took up powerlifting seriously at the age of 30. 3 years later, 4 years later, you're one of the top female athletes in the world. You're soon to be the top female powerlifter in the world.
I will be, yes.
What would you say to anyone out there, male or female, that wants to make something in their life? It doesn't need to be powerlifting. It could be any sport. It could be business. It could be leaving a relationship, leaving a job, whatever.
Go and do it. If you're not happy, change your life. It's never too late to do something different. Whether, again, like you say, whether it's work, relationships, if you're in a shitty relationship, get out of it. There's so many other people out there. You don't even need to be in a relationship. I think for myself, I was always like, I have to be with someone to make myself happy. This year I've not been, and I'm the happiest I have been. I've had, everything's went well, business, obviously my competitions. Like, you don't need to be in a relationship, and I think being okay with that is really good as well. If again in work, if you're not happy in your work, change it. Like, life is too short, and if you're in a shitty place, why are you doing that to yourself? You do not need to do that. So it's up to you to make the change. Nobody can change it for you, and if nothing changes, nothing changes. Definitely. You need to do it.
Perfect. Gemma, thanks very much.
Thank you.